Everything was perfect. He was calling, texting, showing up, making plans. He said things that made you believe he was all in. He looked at you like you were the only person in the room. You felt it's a connection, the chemistry, the potential. You started to believe this might actually be real. And then he disappeared. Not physically, he's still there, but emotionally, he's gone, distant, vague, suddenly busy. The man who couldn't get enough of you now needs space. The man who pursued you is now running away. And you're standing there, completely confused, wondering what you did wrong. Nothing changed on your end. You're the same person he was obsessed with 2 weeks ago. But something shifted in him. The closer you got, the further he pulled back. The more you opened up, the more he shut down. It's like your vulnerability triggered his retreat. Like the moment he realized this was becoming real, he panicked. And now you're left trying to decode his behavior, trying to figure out if you scared him off or if he was never serious to begin with, wondering if you should chase him or let him go, questioning everything you thought you knew about where this was going. You replay every conversation, searching for the moment it changed. Was it when you stayed over on a weeknight? When you met his friends? When you said you really liked him? Was it too much too soon? Did you come on too strong? Did you misread everything? You're second-guessing yourself constantly now. Every text you send feels desperate. You're trying to be cool, trying to give him space, trying not to be that girl who gets too attached. But inside, you're screaming because this doesn't make sense. He's the one who started this. He's the one who pursued you. You were fine before he showed up and made you believe in something. You watch his actions contradict his words. He says he likes you, but he cancels plans. He says he's just busy, but he's posting stories with his friends. He says he wants to see you, but he's suddenly unavailable every weekend. You're getting breadcrumbs just enough to keep you around, but not enough to build anything real, and you're accepting it. You hate that you're accepting it, but you remember how good it was in the beginning, and you keep hoping that version of him will come back. You tell yourself he's going through something, that he's stressed, that he needs time. You make excuses for behavior you'd never tolerate from anyone else. Your friends tell you to move on. They see what you don't want to see. They tell you if he wanted to, he would, that actions speak louder than words, that you deserve someone who's sure about you, and you know they're right. But there's this part of you that thinks if you just give him a little more time, a little more space, a little more understanding, he'll come back around. You've started to dim your own light. You're less enthusiastic when he does reach out. You pretend you're busy too. You play games you never wanted to play because you think maybe if you're less available, he'll want you more. You're trying to reverse psychology your way back into his interest, and it's exhausting. The intimacy you shared feels like it's evaporating. The deep conversations have been replaced with surface-level small talk. The plans for the future have stopped. The excitement has turned into anxiety. You're walking on eggshells, afraid that being yourself will push him further away. You've noticed he talks about himself differently now. Less we and more I. Less future and more present. He's protecting himself from something, and you're collateral damage. You feel it in the way he holds back during sex, if it's even happening anymore. The emotional connection is gone. He's there physically, but he's already checked out emotionally. You're starting to feel stupid. Stupid for believing him. Stupid for getting invested. Stupid for thinking this time would be different. You've been here before, haven't you? The man who comes on strong and then vanishes. The one who says all the right things until you start to believe them. The pattern that keeps repeating, and you keep falling for it. You're angry now. Angry at him for doing this. Angry at yourself for caring. Angry that you let your guard down. Angry that you're sitting here analyzing someone who's clearly shown you they're not ready for what you want. Angry that something that started so beautifully has turned into this confusing, painful mess, and underneath all the anger is hurt. Because you really liked him. You saw potential. You were ready to build something, and he just left. Emotionally left while still keeping you on the hook, and you don't understand why. Why pursue someone just to run away? Why open someone up just to shut down? Why start something you're not ready to finish? You just want to understand. Because maybe if you understand, it'll hurt less. Maybe if you know why, you can make sense of this and move on. What's happening isn't about you. That's the first thing you need to understand. His pulling away isn't a reflection of your worth or what you did wrong. It's a psychological response to vulnerability, and it happens to men more frequently than most people talk about. Here's why. Men are socialized differently around emotions and intimacy. From childhood, many men are taught that vulnerability is weakness, that needing someone makes you less of a man, that dependence is dangerous, that emotions should be controlled, not expressed. So when a man starts to fall in love, really fall, not just surface attraction, it triggers a crisis. Because falling in love requires vulnerability. It requires admitting you need someone. It requires emotional openness. And for many men that feels like losing control. It feels like weakness. It feels like danger. So their instinct is to pull back, to re-establish independence, to regain control over their emotions. This is what psychologists call counterdependency. It's an unconscious defense mechanism against intimacy. When a relationship starts moving from casual to serious, when real feelings develop, counterdependent people panic. They feel engulfed. They feel like they're losing themselves, so they create distance to feel like themselves again. What you're experiencing is him hitting an intimacy threshold. He got close enough to start feeling real emotions, and those emotions scared him. Not because of who you are, but because of what those emotions represent: loss of control, vulnerability, the possibility of getting hurt, the risk of rejection, the fear of not being enough. Men are often less practiced at navigating these emotions than women. Many women are socialized to process feelings, to talk about relationships, to seek emotional connection. Many men are taught the opposite. So when a man falls in love and doesn't have the emotional tools to handle it, his response is often to run. There's also the concept of the rubber band effect in relationship psychology. Some people, particularly those with avoidant attachment styles, need to pull away periodically to feel autonomous. They get close, feel consumed, and need to retreat to remember they're still independent. Then they bounce back. It's a cycle. Close retreat, close retreat. If he has an avoidant attachment style developed from childhood experiences where emotional needs were inconsistently met, then intimacy literally feels threatening to his nervous system. His brain learned early on that depending on people is unsafe, that getting too close leads to pain. So even though he consciously wants connection, his subconscious is screaming at him to protect himself by pulling away. This shows up as mixed signals. He wants you, but he's scared of wanting you. He likes a feeling of connection, but he's terrified of needing it. So he gets close enough to satisfy his need for intimacy, then pulls back before it feels too vulnerable. It's not a conscious manipulation. It's an unconscious protection mechanism. There's also the reality that many men tie their identity to achievement and independence. When they start falling in love, they feel like their focus is being pulled away from their goals. They feel like they're losing themselves in the relationship. They worry they're becoming too dependent, too emotional, too soft. So they pull back to reassert their independence and refocus on individual achievement. This is especially true if they've been hurt before. If a man has experienced significant heartbreak or betrayal, his subconscious will do everything it can to prevent that pain from happening again. So the moment a relationship starts to feel serious, his internal alarm system goes off. Danger, you're getting too close, you could get hurt again. Pull back now. It's a protective mechanism that actually prevents the connection he says he wants. Another factor is the difference between infatuation and real love. In the beginning, there's excitement, novelty, the thrill of pursuit, the dopamine rush of a new connection. That's easy, that's fun. But when those chemicals start to fade and real intimacy starts to develop, it requires work. It requires emotional labor. It requires showing up consistently even when it's not exciting anymore. Many men aren't prepared for that shift. They mistake the fading of infatuation for a loss of feelings, rather than recognizing it as the transition to deeper love. So they pull away, thinking the relationship isn't right, when really they're just hitting the point where real partnership begins. There's also societal messaging that tells men they should keep their options open, that commitment is a loss of freedom, that settling down means settling. So even when they find someone they genuinely connect with, There's this nagging voice asking if there's someone better out there, if they're committing too soon, if they're missing out on other experiences. This isn't about you not being enough. It's about him wrestling with internalized messages about masculinity, independence, and commitment that have nothing to do with your actual value. And here's the painful truth. Some men pull away not because they're scared of love, but because they're not actually in love. They enjoyed the chase, the validation, the intimacy, but they don't want a relationship with you specifically. So they pull away gradually, hoping you'll get the hint without them having to be honest. The difficulty is knowing which one you're dealing with. Is he pulling away because he's scared of his own feelings, or because he's realized this isn't what he wants? The behavior looks the same from the outside, but the meaning is completely different. Understanding why he's pulling away doesn't mean you should accept it. Understanding doesn't require you to wait around while he figures out his emotional issues. Knowledge isn't an excuse for his behavior. It's just context. What you do with that context is up to you. You need to stop making yourself smaller to accommodate his fear. Stop walking on eggshells. Stop pretending you're less interested than you are. Stop playing games. Because here's the thing. If he's pulling away because he's genuinely struggling with vulnerability, your authentic communication might actually help. If he's pulling away because he's not that into you, your games won't change that. The healthiest thing you can do is be direct. I've noticed you've been distant, and I need to understand what's happening here. Are you still interested in building something, or are you pulling back because this isn't what you want? His response will tell you everything. Not just his words, his actions afterward. If he acknowledges it, takes accountability, and makes genuine effort to show up differently, there might be something to work with. If he gets defensive, blames you for being too demanding, or makes promises but nothing changes, you have your answer. You cannot fix his fear of intimacy. You cannot love him into emotional availability. You cannot be so perfect that he overcomes his attachment issues. Those are his to work through, with a therapist ideally, and you are not his rehabilitation center. What you can control is your own boundaries. You can decide how long you're willing to tolerate inconsistency. You can decide what behavior is acceptable to you and what isn't. You can decide that you want someone who's ready for what you're offering, not someone you have to convince to stay. Stop seeing his withdrawal as a reflection of your worth. You are not too much. You're not too needy. You're not too intense. You're just honest about what you want, and that intimidates people who aren't ready for it. That's not your problem to solve. The right person won't pull away when things get real. They'll lean in. They'll do the uncomfortable work of vulnerability because you're worth it to them. They'll communicate when they're scared instead of disappearing. They'll ask for what they need instead of expecting you to decode their distance. If he needs space, he should say so clearly and give you a time frame, not just fade out and leave you guessing. If he's struggling with intimacy, he should communicate that and actively work on it, not make it your problem to navigate. If he's not ready for a relationship, he should be honest instead of stringing you along with mixed signals. You deserve clarity. You deserve consistency. You deserve someone who's excited about you, not just when it's convenient, but even when it's scary, especially when it's scary. If he comes back after pulling away, and many do, you get to decide if you want to re-engage. You get to ask for what you need to feel safe. You get to require that he's done the internal work to show up differently. Coming back isn't enough. Changed behavior is what matters. And if he doesn't come back, that's information too. It tells you he wasn't ready for what you were offering. And someone who isn't ready is someone you can't build with, no matter how much chemistry you had. Stop waiting for him to choose you. Choose yourself. Choose your peace. Choose your standards. Choose to walk away from people who can't meet you where you are. His fear of love is not your responsibility to fix. His inability to be vulnerable is not your burden to carry. His pulling away is not a challenge for you to overcome, it's information. Use it. The right man won't run when feelings get real. He'll be scared and stay anywhere. He'll communicate and work through it. He'll choose you even when it's uncomfortable. Don't settle for someone who loves you in private but pulls away when it matters. Don't accept breadcrumbs from someone who gave you a feast in the beginning. Don't make excuses for grown men who can't use their words. You're not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong person. If this resonated, we're here every week talking about what relationships really look like. Subscribe to continue these conversations. You deserve someone who doesn't run. And until they show up, choose yourself.